2 games in 2 nights in 2 cities between the 2 teams tied for the best record in the West. It's your Flint Firebirds and the Windsor Spitfires in night 1 of a weekend series here on the Firebirds Hockey Network. Hello everyone, welcome into the WFCU Center in Windsor, Ontario. This is the Firebirds pregame show driven by Shea Automotive, and I'm your host, Matt Merrifield. Let's take a look back at the last time out for the Flint Firebirds as Flint is on the final leg of its 4-game road trip. The situation last Sunday looked dire as the Birds trailed 3-0 after the first period in North Bay against the Battalion and had already dropped the first 2 games of the trip. Things turned around, however, in the final 40 minutes as Flint steamrolled back into the game with 6 unanswered goals. Kevin He and Nathan Aspinall both recorded a goal and 3 assists. 2 4-point performances in the comeback effort for the Firebirds as they came back with a final score of a 6-3 victory over the North Bay Battalion, and now coming into Windsor here on this Friday night as they take on the Spitfires. Windsor enters tonight having picked up at least a point in its last 3 contests. They lost 3-2 in overtime to Kitchener at home on Wednesday. It was one they're going to want to have back as they led entering the 3rd period, but the win slipped away as the Rangers, currently at 2nd place in the West, as the top team in the Midwest Division at that number 2 seed, were able to come from behind and pull out the victory. Windsor, however, was still able to pick up at least a point, but that was the difference between them having the outright lead in the West and being tied with the Flint Firebirds. Some players to watch here tonight in this Friday night matchup for the Flint Firebirds. It's Kevin He. That monster night he had has been a common sight since he joined the Firebirds back at the end of December. Fun fact, he was actually traded to Flint the last time these 2 squads met back on December 28th. Now, he made his debut on New Year's Eve, December 31st, and has he been good since the acquisition. 5 goals, 9 assists for 14 points in 10 games since coming over from the Niagara Ice Dogs. That's good for 3rd in the OHL in points over that stretch. Kevin He has been tremendous for the Flint Firebirds. For Windsor, the player to watch is Ethan Belchez. He has been a goal-scoring machine all season long, and especially here as of late. 3-game goal streak coming into tonight, and 6 over his last 6 games. He also has been very good against the Firebirds this season, specifically 3 goals, 1 assist for 4 points this season in 2 matchups against the Birds, making a strong case to be a top 5 pick in the NHL draft coming up next June. Let's get you caught up on the series history between these 2 teams to this point this year. The 2 teams have gone up against each other twice already this season, and Windsor has taken both matchups to this point. There's still 2 more to come after this weekend, though, with the Flint and Windsor taking on each other again tomorrow at the Dordt Financial Center. The last time in Windsor was back on November 2nd. The Spits dominated all 60 minutes with a 5-2 win led by Liam Greentree, who had a hat trick in that game. On December 28th, the last time these 2 teams met back at the Dordt Financial Center, Windsor picked up a 4-1 victory. Ethan Belchez lit the lamp twice, and Joey Costanzo, the goaltender for the Spitfires, made 28 saves in a strong outing for the veteran netminder. It's about time to play some hockey here on the Firebirds Hockey Network. I'm Matt Merrifield. As we wrap up the Firebirds pregame show driven by Shea Automotive, let's check in on the starting goaltenders tonight. Mason Vicari in net for the Flint Firebirds, the OHL wins leader with 24 on the year, 2.61 goals against, 9.14 save percentage. Joey Costanzo between the pipes for Windsor, 22, 5-3 on the season. He's 2-0 with a 1.50 goals against and a 9.39 save percentage against the Birds in the 2 meetings so far this year. Without further ado, let's bring in your play-by-play boys, Brian Gardner, for the action tonight. Welcome into the first intermission report here on the Firebirds Hockey Network. I'm Matt Merrifield with you. We have an even score, 1-1 between the Flint Firebirds and the Windsor Spitfires here on this Friday evening at the WFCU Center in Windsor, Ontario. Let's get to the highlights of the first period. Starting off, Flint Firebirds striking first, the opening goal of the game from Ignac Pazzi, his 11th of the year.
As the face-off controlled by the Spitfires, Firebirds take it away. Alone in front is Pazzi. Score! Ignac Pazzi snipes it from the slot, point blank, after the Birds force the turnover.
Not even 5 minutes into the contest, the Birds were up 1-0. Alex Kostov and Chris Thibodeau tallying assists on that opening goal from Pazzi. We're going to hear from Chris Thibodeau here in a few minutes after his recent commitment to Lindenwood University. About 10 minutes later, 5 minutes left in the first, Windsor would eventually tie the game. Anthony Cristoforo batting one home.
They're being outshot 7-5, but Ignac Pazzi's Wrist shot from the slot is the only one that's found it yet, but never mind, as right off the draw, it is Cristoforo on the doorstep who scores. Anthony Cristoforo has evened it. Top shelf on the glove side. It's 1-1.
Those are the only 2 goals we had in the first period, tied at 1 apiece. Hard to believe with all these scoring chances both sides had. Chris Thibodeau was on the offensive end of a couple, and with the multiple Windsor power plays, they had a few chances around the net as Mason Vicari was stellar in the net for the Birds. He made 9 saves on the 10 shots he saw, and Costanzo made 6 saves on the 7 shots that came his way. 7 high-quality shots that went towards him, though he's turned all but 1 aside. But with that, that'll do it for the first intermission report here on the Firebirds Hockey Network. When we come back, Brian Gardner will have the second period of action. It's a 1-1 contest between the Birds and the Spits. Don't go anywhere. This is Firebirds Hockey on the Firebirds Hockey Network. Inside the WFCU Center in Windsor, Ontario, as the Firebirds victorious tonight 4-2 over the Windsor Spitfires here on the Firebirds Hockey Network. Matt Merrifield with you. And let's take a look at the out-of-town scores. 5 other contests in the Ontario Hockey League tonight. Let's see how those contests fared. Starting off out in Kitchener. In second place in the Western Conference, the Rangers pick up another win, 6-2 over the Owen Sound Attack. It was 1-1 after 40 minutes of play, an explosion of goals in the third. First star of the game, Sam O'Reilly for the Rangers with 2 assists as the Rangers pick up another win on home ice. Over in London, a come-from-behind victory in overtime for the London Knights. They trailed 2-0 entering the third. They rattled off 2 goals late in the period to send it to overtime. And then the eventual game winner, Jesse Nurmi, with a multi-point night for the Knights as they pick up the win against their rivals, the Sarnia Sting. Out in Kingston, it was 8-0 Frontenacs after 2 periods. Saginaw was able to put 2 goals on the board late in the game to finish off an 8-2 loss as Kingston, with an offensive explosion, wins 8-2 over the Spirit at home. In Sudbury, an even score of 4-4 with 3.5 minutes still to play in the third period. A back-and-forth affair all night long as Merrick Van Acker has 2 goals for now a OHL leading 33 on the season. It's 4-4 between Sudbury and Brantford at the moment. In Guelph, that game is headed to a shootout between the Storm and the Otters. 3-3 the score. It was 3-2 Otters headed into the third. Grant Spada with his third of the year with less than 2 minutes to play to force the game into overtime. And overtime wasn't enough. They'll need a shootout to decide the matchup between the Guelph Storm and the Erie Otters.